Right now, Governor Christie appoints an interim senator. Who is this guy and who will take over when his term is over? And next, Assembly Speaker Shelley Silver finds himself in hot water. Not only did he cover up Vito Lopez's alleged pattern of sexual harassment, Silver himself may have had an inappropriate relationship with his own chief of staff, and surprisingly, the email traffic never made its way past the first level investigation. Many are saying it is time for Shelley to go. We'll discuss. And later, we remember the life and the legacy of one Senator, Frank Lautenberg. He lied in repose in the well of the Senate chamber today, a high honor for a man who was remembered as a principled fighter. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. I am Richard French, and thanks so much for joining us on this Thursday evening, June 6th. We're going to talk about all those issues, an important day in American history as well. And also, Dominic had a very interesting trip last night to a very interesting place, and he heard a very fascinating address. We're going to share that with you later on this evening as well. Now, as the ceremonies honoring Senator Frank Lautenberg began at the U.S. Senate today, we got word of the man who will temporarily replace him in Washington. This as the politics heat up over the coming special election for Lautenberg's seat. First up, the state's interim senator. And Andrew, I got to tell you, I was in near Princeton this morning. In fact, Senate Majority Leader Mr. Sweeney was there with me, in addition to some other politicos in Jersey behind and in front of the scenes. And they all gave me predictions. Not one of them got it right here. This name surprised some folks.
This name surprised just about everybody, Rich. Did not hear this name come up in any of the speculation before the announcement today. Governor Christie making that formal announcement this afternoon. And though the governor said he went with his first choice, that first choice wasn't anybody the experts were expecting.
It's my honor to introduce for remarks Jersey's newest United States Senator, Senator Jeff Chiesa.
I'll use my best judgment and the skill that I have to conduct myself in a way that'll I hope that will make everybody in New Jersey proud, and to do everything I can to advance the interests of the people that live here, as I've tried to do in all the positions that I've had the honor to have.
He is Jeff Chiesa, the state's current Attorney General, having served as Christie's chief counsel and head of his transition team following the '09 election. He's best known perhaps as the key figure in Operation Swill, that statewide bust of bars serving fake liquor a few weeks ago. Chiesa will be a placeholder senator and will not seek the GOP nomination for the seat in the August primary, something Christie says he didn't know before he appointed him.
I made him the offer. As I told you, he texted me the next morning, said, I'm in. I called him and I said, great. I said, now, are you going to run for it, or do you just want to serve on the interim basis? And he said, I have no interest in being a political candidate, Governor. I'd rather not run. And I said, fine. It's fine with me, Jeff. If you don't want to run, that's fine.
Chiesa heads to Washington on Monday and will likely be sworn in then, and he'll jump right into things in the Senate, where on Tuesday the first vote on immigration reform is scheduled. Senate designee Chiesa was asked about his take on immigration reform today.
I think the first thing we have to do is to make sure the borders are secure. I think that's probably because I come from a background of law enforcement. From there, these issues are new to me, and the details of them are new to me, and I'll get down there and meet with my colleagues and discuss with them the things that I think make the most sense for the people that I represent.
Rich?
Right, this raises a whole host of questions here. The politics of it, the practicality of it, the calendar of it. Let's bring in our panel on this. Jeannie Zaino, political science professor at Iona College. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Chris Shays, former Connecticut congressman, distinguished fellow in public service at the University of New Haven. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. Dominic, the cynic in me says, yeah, right. He didn't know till after he asked if he was going to
I'm glad
run.
you said it, and I didn't have to go on the record and say
that. All said, I think Christie once again managed to navigate, the eye of the needle here in a difficult thing. He managed to tick off some folks on the right who said, hey, you should have let this guy have a year and change and be up for election in 2014, as we believe, and there could have been some legal challenges he had the discretion to do. He also managed to pick somebody that wasn't going to be an active candidate right off the bat, that this was a temporary position. And he kept, I think, Jeannie, his label of being a maverick, if you will, somebody who doesn't fit neatly into one political box. So let's first start with the governor himself here. I think he managed to do other than maybe I would say Tom Kean Sr., the next best thing. Pick somebody here who's out of the mainstream and that not everybody's happy about, but not everybody can point a finger at him either.
Yeah, and in part because people don't know him that well. I think it was really, as Andrew said, a surprise pick to everybody. Nobody was predicting that the Attorney General will get the nod, but he is a close member of the governor's inner circle, and to that extent, the governor is going to have very close ties with him for the next 4 or 5 months. I think there's still a question as to when exactly the new senator will take over. It will be, October 17th or about 10 days after that. But in that short term, a senator can really have an important impact, and we've seen that in the past. And certainly immigration is going to be something to watch. But I do go back to my Republican friends and say Chris Christie may have done you a favor by keeping Democrats out of that November election, because they have no shot of taking the New Jersey legislature if you've got a big November race for the U.S. Senate. So he did Republicans a favor. I don't think he should be getting as much flack as he is.
Dominic, do the calendar for me here for a second, because he had choices, Christie did. And as Andrew reported, this comes with a price tag, $25 million that you're going to have to spend here to have a primary in August and then the special election general in October. But that price tag, though, says you're going to have a really low turnout in both the primary and the general, and that cuts both ways, Democrats and Republicans. I'm hearing from some Democrats all of a sudden that never would have challenged Booker next year to say, hey, for 3 months, I got a fighting chance here between now and August. I'll give it a shot. I mean, this cuts both ways, but I think Booker's the loser here no matter how you look at it.
The loser? I don't see it that way at all. I see it as a deal that's been cut between Chris Christie and Cory Booker. Because I agree with you. It has the possibility of being very low turnout on election day. So who does that play to?
Primary day, too.
On primary day. So who does that play to? The person with the most name recognition who can turn out their base. That's Cory Booker. We might as well start calling him senator now.
I'm only telling you what I heard, which was guys like Frank Pallone. Maybe even a Pasquarello, but guys like that who've always wanted ambition on this but knew they couldn't match dollar for dollar with the fundraising, say, in a 3-month sprint, I can get enough of, and New Jersey's different than almost any other state here, where party bosses are real and they actually wield power. They can get the right number of, and Booker is not beloved within his own state. Nationally, he might be, not by any means, not even in Newark. So they have turnout capabilities that might be underestimated by people outside, the inside baseball. They think it's real. I don't know if they're right. I think the betting money's with you, but.
And we should say Pallone has now, at this moment, more money than Booker. And Booker was planning on getting as much money as he could by January. But Pallone has about $1 million more, we think, than Booker does at this point. But I do think that Booker's got the name recognition.
Okay, so Andrew, first, I'm jumping ahead a little bit as to what happens, but we know the name of the interim, but talk about what this means for those, because he's made it clear he's not staying past October or whenever the person's seated. Who are some of the names we're hearing about that could be replaced?
We're starting to get candidates or potential candidates either saying yes or no. Lots of movement in that race today. First up, Central Jersey Congressman Rush Holt is in on the Democratic side. He made that announcement today. Congressman Frank Pallone expected to be in. Several reports quoting people near him saying he'll be an official candidate, but he is yet to formally announce. And still no formal word from Newark Mayor and likely frontrunner Cory Booker, though Booker has confirmed he's begun gathering the signatures that he would need to launch a formal campaign. On the Republican side, only former Bogota Mayor and former Senate and gubernatorial candidate Steve Lonegan has officially declared. Lonegan is the state head of Americans for Prosperity, likely be a very conservative Republican in their primary. Two bigger GOP names saying they will not run today. State Senators Tom Kean Jr. and Kevin O'Toole, both saying they're remaining focused on Trenton instead of Washington. Still no word on whether current Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno will seek the Republican nomination, nor have we heard from State Senator Joe Carrillos, who was the 2012 GOP nominee. We also haven't heard from
He's indicated he's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
And no word yet from Assembly Speaker Sheila Oliver, who's also said to be considering a run. We're also getting word of 3 potential wild card candidates on the Republican side, all of whom could self-fund their race if they so choose. They include biotech executive John Crowley, insurance executive Joseph Plumeri, and Johnson & Johnson Air and Jets owner Woody Johnson. Rich?
It's fascinating.
This is so much fun.
Isn't it, though?
Like you do much fun.
And you do the predict. First of all, just on a timing standpoint, was it too soon? Should it wait until tomorrow?
No, I think this is really brilliant because first off, none of the incumbents have to give up their seats. Yeah. That's really interesting. Yep. So he's really allowing a lot more Democrats to fight it out. which I find interesting. But you know what? The bottom line to the folks in New Jersey, they're going to have a candidate who's not going to be running, so he'll spend the 3 or 4 or 5 months that he's in office just doing his job. And that's the way it should be.
Okay, now, I've heard this as well, which was immediately after the governor laid out his timetable, before he even did the pick yesterday, there was not only on Limbaugh, but across the way on the conservative wing of the party, said, hey, we have a chance to take back the Senate here, and you basically put up for grabs, gave a Democrat a better than 50-50 shot to take this seat this year when you could have held it till 14, and that's going to cost you, Governor Christie, in 2016 when you run for president.
So what he did is he put the people of the state first instead of his own party. And I think he should be congratulated for it.
I think you can make the argument he put himself in front of the
well, you know what?
When
you do a good job for the people of the state, you deserve to be patted on the back.
And in Christie's defense, Democrats came out before that timetable and said they would fight that in court. So had he waited, there's no guarantee. And Republicans have all but said they can't get the signatures by Monday to get somebody on this ballot. You know, this is going to be a write-off for them. So, you know, I don't know if that argument quite works. And I think you can make the argument that he is working for the best interest of his policies and the people of the state, because he has no shot of taking the legislature if Cory Booker is in that November election. So, you know, it does serve him, but it also serves the people.
I mean, which is the primary driving force for Christie? It's making sure that Booker's not on the ballot with him when it comes to November.
Yeah, they don't want to be together.
They could very easily have held the election on November 3rd, I think it is, and not had to spend the extra.
If he got hit for an October,
Don,
November,
real quick
that's
though,
no way. Yeah.
We can sit here and none of us can have a slam dunk criticism of the governor. To be able to make the decision, the political calculations, as fast as they did, within 24 hours, and every machination that we could figure out, it all comes up on the positive side of the ledger for the governor. People underestimate. We've seen a lot of people with paralysis trying to figure this thing out. He made his decision. Everybody learned when he did the press conference, not before, and to do it that quickly, that definitively. Whatever you think of Christie, that took a lot of political skill, I think.
A lot of political skill. He's not a novice by any means. And I really think he's showing us, you may think I'm crazy, but I think he's showing us that he's going to run as a moderate for president. I think these actions are showing us this in 2016. I think he's saying to the right, good luck to you. My party has had enough with you.
Hopefully a lot of Republicans take note here. He's doing it, and he's doing it unapologetically. We'll see if that works for him. All right, later on in the program, we will come back to the news and really what spurred all these political decisions. That, of course, the remembrance after the loss of a man who held that Senate seat for many, many years, Senator Frank Lautenberg. We're going to bring you to the nation's capital where he lied in repose today. And also, just a side note, he's the last serving member from World War II, and that also part of our program tonight we'll talk about later. Now, when we come back, though, we'll turn to the state of New York, in fact, to the capital of New York, where Shelley Silver, Assembly Speaker, and the biggest, if not one of, certainly one of the top 3 power brokers when it comes to New York politics, is accused of having now an inappropriate relationship of his own with the top aide. And if you believe the polls and a lot of the growing sentiment in Albany, a lot of people say it's time for him to go. We'll talk to a person at the forefront of that fight and bring the table in as well. Stay with us.